All right, guys, we're gonna do the snail. I wanna show you the source of inspiration here. Not really, but let me show you what is going on here. I got my practice paper over here. Kind of gives me a guideline of where to start. You'll notice that this is upside down for me. And my reference is upside down. And I found that sometimes when doing crazy details, it's easy to get lost in the details. So to help your brain from getting stuck on the details, if you turn things sideways or upside down, it can help you just focus on colors and shapes. I got a paper towel in case I need that. Got my water. I got these 3 brushes right here. And this is a size 4 round brush. This is an 8 and this is a 6, but they're definitely different brands here, all 3 different brands. All right. Now, these are the colors we're going to use, Quinacridone Gold, but while I'm painting this, I'm just going to refer to it as gold because I want to be able to communicate well and paint at the same time. So there's the gold. We are also going to use Dyke Brown, and I'll just call it the dark brown. We'll just have that right here. We will also use Imperial Purple. Put that right here. I'm going to put a little bit right here because I'm going to mix it. I'm going to mix it with the gold that we had earlier. Right there. We're also going to use Rose of Ultramarine, but I'm just going to refer to it from now on as the rose color. All right, I'm using the Daniel Smith brand. I really like it. It's a high quality brand. Got my towel here to dry off my brushes. All right, and first what we want to do is create a very, very light wash for the body of the snail. Okay, we won't do the shell right now. We'll just focus on the body, the first layer. All right, and what we need to do, oh, also I have the titanium white opaque. Towards the end, if we need it, if we make mistakes or anything like that, this is basically like almost like an eraser. Okay, so this is great to have in your arsenal of art supplies. All right, so first thing we're going to do is put a layer of clean water on the body of the snail, and then we're going to put our mixture on top. But first we got to make the mixture. So what I'm going to do is put some water in here. This is the gold mixed with the purple, Imperial Purple. So here we go. We're just going to get some water in there and create a very, very light wash. So just mixing it up. All right. All right, so we got a very, very light wash here. It's always good to have some practice paper nearby so we can test it out. So that's where this can come in. All right, so here's that color. All right, and this color is actually really nice for the shell. So scratch that. We're going to go for the shell because this is good for the shell. So we'll do that. All right, here we go. And we're just going to put it down. It's light enough that we don't have to put water on here. Okay. I'm using my bigger round brush because this is a big painting. Your paper might be smaller, so you don't have to use as big as a round brush. And I'm going to leave that just with nothing on it right now. I'm just going to keep putting this color in the areas where it's not completely white. Now this area right here is a lot lighter, so I'm just going to grab some water and mix it in with what I got there. Now that water is going to dilute some of the color in my brush and what's already on the page, and just make it a little bit, it's going to make it lighter there. We want that. Okay. Then over here it's going to get darker, so we'll get more of the color in our brush. Just like that. I'm using the Arches 100% cotton cold pressed paper. I find that it is very forgiving. You can put many layers. You can take things off without ruining the paper right away, like with a magic eraser. So this is great paper. Costs more, but you get more with it. So, all right. With the extra water in my, or paint in my brush, I'm just kind of going in the direction of some of these lines. Okay, so we got the first layer of the shell. In these really, really light areas, I'm going to just kind of wash my brush a little bit, like get it in here and take out some of that color. All right, dry it a little bit. And then I'm gonna just, oops, I put a spot of water on there. I'm going to just wet it with that clean water. And also let some of the color of the shell kind of bleed into it, just merge right into it. It's still lighter than the other one because it's mixed in with that water. All right, there we go. That's the first layer. Now, while that is drying, I want to make sure I got all the way to the edge. Hold on. Did I get all the way over there? There we go. All right, there we go. All right, so that is the first layer of our shell. Now, what we're gonna do is create the body color, and it's different. It's a little bit more purple rose color. So what we'll do is we'll take a little bit of the rose. So here's a little bit of the rose right here. And we'll take a little bit of the gold right here. All right, and the mixture is almost 50-50. There might be a little bit more gold than the rose, and we'll see what that looks like. So I'm gonna put some water in there. Mix it up. You have to be careful when you're mixing, especially on top of your painting. I wouldn't usually do this, but because I want you to see what I'm doing, I'm mixing it right here on top of my painting. So I'm going slower so I don't like splash on my painting. Is this the right color? We don't know yet. We got to test it out. So I'm going to get the scrap paper real quick. And I don't want to set it on that. All right, here we go. Let's see what this is like. Okay, that's very much a color we would actually want in the shell. So I'm not going to get rid of that color because we can use that later on. That could be the next coat on here. In fact, we're going to use it right now on here. All right, this is hilarious. All right, so apparently we are supposed to work on the shell before we get to the body. So here we go. I love this little heat gun. What's nice about it compared to like a hair dryer is that it doesn't actually blow out air and push paint around. It just pushes out heat, and it dries things very, very quickly, and it's also not loud. Notice you can hear what I'm saying even though I'm using it, whereas if I used a hair dryer, you might not be able to hear what I'm saying. All right, so this is like, I think this is like 15 or 20 bucks on Amazon. All right, totally worth it. What you do need to know though is when you get it and you first use it, it will smoke because they put oil in the engine or whatever is in there, in the motor, sorry. And so I didn't know that. I returned it thinking it was broken, and then I found out it was meant to do that the first few times you use it. Okay, so this is dry. So we're gonna come back in and notice that it's this orangey color right here, but not so much right here. But it is orangey right here. So we're going to pay attention to where it seems to be more of this orange color. So right here, we'll get that. This area right here. Now this area gets like really dark, so it doesn't matter if we cover this area right now. We can cover it with this color. And this area is very much more gold, so we'll color this in. Go. But we want to leave this more bright. So we're gonna leave that area the color that it is. All right. All right. And then here, what we can do is look at our line work and just kind of go where there's lines, where we've drawn some lines there. Where there's lines, we'll assume those are some darker areas. And we'll put in some of the darker paint right there. Okay. All right, it's definitely orange, more orange over here in this area, so we'll get some of that right here. But then light is coming from top of the shell, so we'll stop right around here and just kind of put what's in our brush on these lines right here. This is shows the importance of getting a good line drawing. It really helps you in the painting process. So it might take you longer to get a nice line drawing, but it will pay off later when you're painting it. All right, now let's see. This orange comes around pretty well right here. So we'll get that. And we'll just kind of bridged the gaps between what's over there now to where we are right here. So from here to here, we're just putting in some of these darker lines. With watercolor, the trick to, I think, realism is going from light to dark. So on the first few layers, it's not going to look realistic, but every layer we start adding on, it starts adding dimension, form, contrast, more vivid colors. So just know, if you're a beginner in painting, just know that every painting you do at the beginning stage is gonna go through what we call the ugly stage. Right now, we're in the ugly stage. This is not looking the way we want it to look when it's done. We're just gonna hint at the darker areas right here. Right here. Okay, and we're gonna have to use a different color for this part of the shell because it's not really this color. All right. That's good for now. All right, now let's try, third time's a charm, let's try to get the color of this snail, okay? So what we're gonna do is, I think what happened was I used a little bit too much of the gold when we need more of the rose. So what I'm gonna do is just take a little bit of the gold here, like this, put it right here, and then take more of this rose color right there and put more of the rose there. And let's see if that does the trick. It's definitely more purpley. And if this doesn't do the trick, I know one more solution. All right, so we got to test this out, see if this is the right color. If anything, you're learning that you just have to be patient as you experiment. All right. Okay, that's definitely more purple. Look at that. That is so close. Oh, that's so close. Oh man, that's pretty good. Oh, you couldn't even see that. Sorry. There you go. All right. I think that's going to work. Just to be safe, I'm going to take this water right here. Okay, clean my brush a little bit, and it's okay that there's some of that color in there. And I'm going to take a little bit of this dark brown. It was the Dyke Brown. And I'm just going to create a really, really light wash like this. There we go. Now this might be it right here. I think this is it. This is it. I'm pretty sure this is it. All right, let's test it out here. All right, let's get it to where you can see. Oh my goodness, I just flicked the color all over. Oh, that's really light. That's really light. We're on to it though. This is the right, you know what, we're gonna use this at first because it is so light. This is great. This is great. You can't go too light really, because you can always add darkers. And when you wet the page, you're prepping it, you're getting it ready for other things. So this is good. We're gonna put this color on. you're gonna barely notice that color, but it's doing something, okay? We gotta just trust the process. We just gotta trust the process here. This color is so light that it's gonna, I think it's gonna look really good right here, making the eye look translucent, like light is being able to shine through that. Look at that, that's great. All right. This is great. Now I tried to get us down to just like 4 colors so that if I can save you guys some money not having to buy every color there is. But at the same time, I don't want your painting to suffer because you needed 1 more color. So at the end, if we really need another color to just enrich our painting, then we'll just use another color. But I think for the most part, we're just going to be using these colors. I don't know if we'll need another one at the very end. I'm going to leave this white. It's so bright that I'm just going to leave it white. If we need to make it darker later, we can make it darker later. Since this part of the eye is on the white paper, I'm going to make it darker so that it stands out. There's some contrast between the white background and the eye right here. Okay. Okay. For the pencil work, I used a 2H lead, and what's nice about it is it doesn't bleed very easily, so I can paint over it and I get to keep a lot of my lines there, which is nice for the first few layers. Then when we start doing the last layers, you won't really notice the pencil lines because they'll be replaced with paint. Okay, I have to say this has been a happy accident getting this color. I think this is a really good color. All right, we're going to just bring this color all the way over here. This is a shadow right here, but it's okay if you get the color of the snail down there right now, because eventually it's going to be really, really dark. But we can go ahead and put in the light part of that shadow right now since it's so light. On this side, it's almost pure white, but not quite. There is a little bit, a tint of this color there. Again, I'm using a bigger brush because I'm using bigger paper. You might be able to get away with half the size of this brush. There we go. All right, that's the first layer of the body of the snail. Keep wanting to call it a slug, but it's not a slug. Okay, there we go. All right. Now, let's use this mixture we had earlier, which is the rose and the gold, And let's go into some of these places, and for instance, right in here, let's just put in some of the colors right here. So notice there's this line right here, and it's like a purpley line. So we're gonna use this color right here to just hint at this purpley line. Will the final product have more paint, more vivid colors? Yes, but this is all part of the process. This is all helping us get to those final stages. So every layer is important, although we tend to like the very last layers. We like how it looks towards the very end. But all these layers are important too. Okay, I'm letting my line work really help me make some decisions, like where to put this paint, where to make it a little bit darker. So I'm going on the lines. Okay, and right here it's darker because the shell is curved away from the light. So we're going to put in that darker area right there. There we go. There we go. There we go. Go. Okay, and right there. Okay. Again, it's darker on this side, darker. It's darker wherever the light isn't able to hit that spot very well. So we're going to put those darker areas in. What I love about these round brushes is that even though they can cover large areas, they can also do little tiny details very quickly. They have such a fine tip that it almost looks like a small brush did the work. I could probably get away with painting this whole thing with just this bigger brush because of how good the tip is. And that's the power of getting good brushes. If you don't have a good brush, save up and get a good brush. Totally going to make you enjoy the process of painting a lot more. Okay. All right, and we didn't get the colors over here. So let's do that. So you can see what I'm doing. So there's this beautiful variations of purples and oranges on the shell. And we don't have to use the photograph as like do everything exactly. The goal is to kind of capture the feeling, the beautiful colors and the variety of colors. When you first look at a shell, you might think it's one color or just two, but the more you stare at it for a long time, like we will be while painting this, you start noticing, oh, there's a lot more variations going on. Lots of combinations. That gets pretty dark over here, so we'll just hint at that. And watercolor, there's times like this where it's just peaceful. Like, watercolor is therapeutic. Especially when you're not worried about making mistakes. Like, I'm not worried about making mistakes. Any problem we have, there's solutions to fix it. So you don't need to worry about making mistakes while you paint. And this is something that AI can't take away from us. The therapy of art. This is something that AI just can't touch. There's something very beautiful about creating. I believe we're all meant to be creators to some degree, just creating different things. For some people, their job is to create new thoughts, new ideas. Other people are creating amazing friendships, relationships, different crafts, creativity isn't always painting. It's problem solving. I think we're all meant to be creators, little creators. All right, there we go. Okay, we'll let that dry. You know what? We'll hint at this area could get a little bit more darker, so I'll just kind of touch some of these areas again. Every layer you do makes it a little bit darker. So as some of these dried, as we do another layer, it's just going to get a little bit more darker. And we're going super light, which is helping us to just ease into it. Not a great idea to go really dark fast, typically. I'm sure there's some exceptions to that, depending on what you're painting, but for the most part, going nice and slow and light, to me, really helps to build up layers and colors. Now there's a little bit of this color even in these really, really dark area right here. So how much of that dark area will actually be seen, I'm not sure, but I'll just put it underneath. And I'm gonna look at my line work and kind of mimic it. So in these darker areas, I'll just put some of that color there. And while painting, what's nice about this being recorded, you can stop, you know, work on an area, then start it again. You don't have to go at my pace. You can go faster, you can go slower. And when you get comfortable, you can just start wherever. Remember, I was originally going to start with the body, but that just didn't work out. I ended up making the colors for the shell first. So there's a lot of freedom. Although there's some rules you gotta stick to, like start light. That's a good rule to stick to. It's beneficial. There's times when you can break the rules. There's times when there's a lot of other freedoms though that in watercolor. sometimes you might get tired of an area. You're like, oh, I'm sick and tired of working on this area of the snail. I want to go somewhere else. Well, you have the freedom to go somewhere else and do that. Okay, one of the most important things as you're painting is really just be in the moment with this paint and seeing how it reacts on the paper and have fun. That is crucial. If you want to do painting for the long run, you have to find the fun in it. And there is a lot of fun things about watercolor. Like if you're a control freak like I used to be, every once in a while still have to deal with it, watercolor will definitely push you out of your comfort zone sometimes, because you do not control a lot of how it moves. And that's not a bad thing. There's times when you really want the water to do its own thing because it's going to make some beautiful textures or patterns that are way better than anything you could have imagined. So it's not a bad thing that watercolor isn't always something you can control. I used to avoid watercolor because an art teacher once told me it's only frustrating, you can't control it, so you'll just be miserable with it, so just don't even try it. And I was like, okay. I was a little kid, I believed her, and I stopped. Like, I just didn't learn it. I avoided it all through high school, college. Then I met an artist who said, if you can master watercolor, you can master anything. And I was like, well, I want to get good at art in general. I've tried almost everything there is. One thing I've avoided is this. And if this can make me better in all the other areas of art, then maybe I shouldn't avoid this one area. This one area might be the medicine that I need, not the kryptonite. And it's funny how some of the things we avoid our whole life ends up being the blessing, ends up being the thing that we actually needed all along. I've found that to be the case with watercolor. Watercolor has taken my art to the next level. I'm so glad I ran into that artist who said, if you can master watercolor, you can master anything. Watercolor has been a fun challenge. All right, so a mindset that helps with watercolors is it will be a challenge. Don't tell yourself it should be easy. It's going to be a challenge, and I know that every time I go into a painting, I know, okay, this is going to be a challenge, but it's a fun challenge. It's going to be fun. In fact, if you take away the challenge, sometimes things aren't fun, right? Like sometimes when you're playing basketball, but you're playing with someone that's really, really, really below your level, it's fun for a little while, but then eventually you're like, okay, I need to play with someone that can run at my speed. Or when you go for a run, you want to run at your pace, you know, and not always have to slow down. And so watercolor, I found, is like, it always is a challenging pace. It can, right when you think you figured it all out, it will say, hey, you got to learn this technique. You got to learn this. You can get better here. There's more surprises. There's really a lot of cool things watercolor can do. All right, so we've only done a few layers, but it's starting to take some shape. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put another layer using what we have here. We're going to put another layer on here. And after we put another layer on, and we're going to put it on the darker areas. So it is darker right here, darker right here. It's very light here. it's kind of light here, but it's dark red in through here and dark definitely here. So that's where we're going to go right now. Just wet it like this. The shadow kind of does this thing right here. It's a little bit of a curve, right? And now because we're getting it wet with this color, we can go back in and make it darker. You'll see what I mean in just a moment. There you go. I'm basically letting this, since it's such a light wash, I'm basically letting this be almost like my clean water that I put on to do the wet in wet technique. Okay, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to do the wet in wet technique. All right, so now I'll take a little bit of this, and I see this color kind of in here, so I'm just going to dab it in there. Right into here. Okay. Since it's already a little bit wet in that area, it will spread around really nicely. We can take a little bit more of that right here. All right, and so the water is going to be pushed around a little bit. That's the wet in wet technique. It's a really cool technique. All right, while that is still wet, let's make it even darker. Let's get a little bit more of, let's say, we'll take some of this that we use for the shell. No, wait, should we? Can we? Should we? All right, it is kind of brown here, so maybe we'll just use some of it right here. No, that's a bad color. So this is great. This is great. I don't like that. What can I do? I put it down there and I can quickly fix it by going like that. All right, no need to panic. You do have to act fast sometimes, but you don't really need to panic. No problem. No problem. I'm really glad when mistakes, you know, accidents like that happen while I'm teaching you, because it's something every artist, every professional artist has to deal with. It's going to happen to everyone. And in every painting, you're going to do some things that you're like, oops, shouldn't have done that. All right, and instead of panicking, you just need to respond in a way that fixes it. There's a fix for every watercolor problem. All right. All right, very good. Okay. I want some of that purple in here. So I'm going to take a little bit of this color. Okay. I'm going to bring it over here because it's not as bright. It's not as so powerful as the purple that's right here. This is the purple. Wait, that's not the purple. Oh my goodness. I just realized this is the rose color. I am so sorry. All right. All right. What do we do? Give up. No, I'm joking. Okay. We're just going to wash this out because we don't need that. What we need is a little bit of this purple right here. Okay. This purple. We want to just dab it in here. It's going to work its way around And it's dark in this area, so we can scoot it in this area right here, just like that. And it comes right up to, the color kind of comes up all the way over here. So we'll just dab that in a little bit. There we go. I'm going on the dark lines right here. Those dark lines will be kind of my guidelines. There we go. I'm paying attention to how much paint is in my brush. It's running out of paint, so it's getting lighter and lighter. And since this is a very light area, that's to our advantage. If it was too dark, I wouldn't be working in this area right now. It's just too dark. We want this area to remain light. So while there's a little bit of paint and more water in your brush, you can do the lighter areas right here. And I'm going to I'm going to do some negative painting. I try to be a positive person, but we're going to do some negative painting. Basically, I'm painting around the little bumps in the skin of this snail. So there's little bumps here. We're getting some of those bumps. We're also going to, this side is darker, so we're going to just get this side. There's a hint that it kind of twists right there, so we're going to get that little hint there. There. And it's definitely darker right here, so we'll get some of that dark color right there. And there's definitely this is where the eye is. Snail eyes are pretty hilarious looking to me. They're funny looking. Right? And then we'll also put in on these darker areas on our drawing. We'll put in a little bit of the paint there on those dark areas. Go. It's darker on this side, so we're gonna put in that darker line right there and then dab in some of the shadows, giving it texture. This line drawing took, I think it was 2 or 3 hours, maybe longer, and it was a little bit of a pain, but I'm very grateful right now that I took the time to do it, because it's really helping as I paint. All right, now we can put in a little bit more of this color to smooth out. We don't want hard edges. There's a hard edge right there, and I want to get rid of it, so I'm going to just put this color in right there to smooth that out. The bottom part of the snail is darker. The light isn't hitting it here, so it's okay that this area is darker. And see how this bled through right here? What we can do is clean our brush. There we go. I'm gonna use this brush. And I'm gonna wet it. Move that around, just like that. Now it's not so harsh of a line there. It's more smoothed, more blurred. Easy fix. There's some hard lines here I want to get rid of. So just get clean water. I can just re-wet some of those areas. There we go. Okay. This. All right. All right. Good, good. How are we doing? It's been 51 minutes. All right, we're doing good on time. What I can do is dry this real quick. If we were doing a workshop, I would say this is day one right here, doing the work we just did right now. And then the next day we would put in the details, and pretty much we might be able to finish this in 2 days. The reason why we do the wet on wet technique is it creates the colors to blur and blend into each other very nicely without harsh edges. When you're using this, you don't keep it in one spot for a long time, you keep moving it around. There we go. And it always dries a little bit lighter. That's just how watercolor works. The water evaporates out and for some reason makes it lighter when it evaporates. All right. So I want to get some of the rich colors in here. All right, so what I want to do is take some of this gold color, and my brush is filled with water, and I'm just going to lightly touch the edge of the gold color like this to get it into my brush. Okay. Then we can take a little paper like this and see what it looks like. All right, so that'll be good. What we'll do is let's see, let's get a little bit more of that. Let's get this area right here. Ooh, that's beautiful. That is a really beautiful color there. All right, there we go. Okay, we'll get a little bit more. We'll put some of that gold color right in here. All the way up. We'll leave some areas more lighter. Like the light is creating a shine on some of it. Letting my line work kind of really tell me where to put some of these lines here. There we go. This is one of my favorite colors, the purple and this gold. Just really, really, really beautiful colors. We'll use it in some of the lines right here. Remember, we don't have to get it exactly like the photo. We're just trying to capture the feel that we get when we look at it. Okay. So a little bit of that color here, but not a lot, because the light's hitting and creating a shine, and so it gets very much lighter. So we'll just kind of fade it out. So it's lots of gold here, but then it gets less and less gold up here. Do you see that? It gets less and less. And then over on this side, it starts to get more intense gold color again. So we'll put in more intense color here. Beautiful colors. Okay, and then notice right here it gets really intense with this gold color. So we're gonna get more gold color right here. I'm resting my hand here because it's dry. If it was wet, I'd have to be lifting it up and it'd be kind of awkward. As you get to become a pro at watercolor, you start to know what areas to go to next and leave some areas to dry. And by the time you're done with another area, you can come back to the other area because it's already dried. All right, we'll hint at some of this gold in here. And then on the edge here, there is some of that gold color. go. Okay, there's not a lot of gold in this area, so I want to stop moving the gold over here. Put maybe a little bit more over here though. Okay. And I do want to get a little bit more of the gold color over here. I'll just go in the really dark areas. Eventually this area is going to be almost a dark black. It'll be very, very dark purple. Purple and rose. There we go. Very dark on the edges. People like gradients. Our eyes are drawn to gradients. One of the reasons we love sunsets isn't just because the colors are so vivid and beautiful. It's also because there's beautiful gradients in the sky. The next time you look at a sunset, just notice the gradients. How it's not one color, it's colors and colors mixed together and changing over the sky. Those gradients cause so much beautiful variations. And in paintings, if you can capture that, you're capturing a painting that is dynamic, has a lot of variety and visual interest. The more visual interest you can create, the longer people want to look at it. Okay, this area is dried and looks like we can put a little bit more in. There we go. But you get the idea, like we keep coming back and adding a little bit darker and darker colors until we get to the colors that we want it to be. All right. All right. Now this color right here is more of this rose color right here. So I want to mix this up again. Let's see. Actually, this is more of that color right there. There we go. We can even stand to get it a little bit darker. There. Can we? Yes, we can. Now, when it's really dark like that, okay, you can just come in, pick it up, okay, take some off of your brush, go back in, no big deal. That is going to happen on almost every painting you do. And that's okay. We're getting to the point where we could go to a smaller brush. Maybe not you if you're using a smaller piece of paper, but for me, we're starting to get into some tiny details. And although I could do it with this brush, it might be funner to use a smaller brush. But you can see how this brush, although it's a large brush, still creates lots of little tiny details. And it holds so much water that you can keep going for a long period of time before you need to get more water in your brush. Okay. That color right there is pretty beautiful. Yeah, that's a really cool color. It's that rose color. It complements the gold, I think, really nicely. Okay, and some of these areas are really dark. Again, I'm letting my drawing underneath kind of help me make some quick decisions as to where I'm laying in details. All right, it's been an hour and 9 minutes straight, and I think it is time for a break. So I'm going to stop this right now, and when I come back, we'll just keep adding more layers.